So next up, podcast listeners, the U.S. economy falters. This should not come as a surprise. The U.S. economy adds only 199,000 jobs in December, way below expectations. And this is in the Daily Caller. The U.S. economy recorded an increase of only 199,000 jobs in December, and the unemployment rate dipped to 3.9%, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics announced Friday. Total non-farm payroll employment increased by 199,000 in December, according to BLS, and the number of unemployed Americans dipped to 6.3 million, by the way, which you should not believe. Here's why. In December, of course, you usually have a lot more people working because of the holidays, right? You have more people shopping, more people buying, more need to deliver the stuff, so you need a lot of seasonal employees. And yet, the expectation is we would be in the many hundreds of thousands, like maybe 400,000 or 500,000 new employees put on payrolls, but instead it was under 200,000. The part you shouldn't believe here is when the government says only 6.3 million Americans are unemployed. That's not true. My opinion is it's probably 20 or 30 million people that aren't employed. And that's because the government doesn't consider you to be unemployed if you stop looking for work. Imagine that. If you are someone who's sitting home and you're receiving a check for not working, for whatever the reason, and you stop looking for work, the government stops counting you as being unemployed. As far as the government is concerned, you don't exist. And so this idea that there are only 6.3 million Americans that don't have jobs, but really want jobs, I just don't believe it. I think that there are, 20 or 30 million Americans who are unemployed. Now, whether they do or don't want to work is a different story. The question is they should be working because there are literally millions of jobs that aren't filled. But when you pay people not to show up, people are rational. Don't pay them to show up, and guess what happens? They don't show up. So the Wall Street Journal projected the economy to add 422,000 jobs, even though 199,000 were added. And that's really bad because with the federal government wanting to increase interest rates to try to slow down the economy, not put a stop to the economy, but slow it down, mainly because they want to slow down inflation. We already have an economy that is slowing naturally. And since the economy is slowing naturally, yet we still have really high inflation, the fear, of course, is that when interest rates start to ratchet up this year in 2022, you're going to have potentially a recession. And I think that this is probably going to happen. So, quote, the economy right now is in a good spot and resilient enough to withstand the COVID surge, said Julia Pollack, an economist at jobs website ZipRecruiter. The WSJ reported, we just expect this year to bring a more moderate, sustainable pace of recovery and growth. I'm not buying that. Payroll firm ADP reported Wednesday that the U.S. economy added 807,000 private sector jobs in December, more than doubling expectations as cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant surged. So we may have added 800,000 plus jobs in December, but they're not filled. And that's really the issue, right? So you have to ask yourself the question, well, what if those jobs were indeed filled by people? Wouldn't that fuel inflation more? And you see the problem that our economy has right now. The economy has this problem where you have millions of jobs unfilled. People are being paid to not work. And then if we stop paying them to not work and they go back to work and they, let's say, earn a little bit more money, it's going to fuel inflation even more, which is going to ratchet up interest rates even more. So I don't see how we're going to get away from having a recession in 2022. I'm sure there are plenty of people that would disagree with me, but it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. And good old Joe Biden, I mean, it's pretty clear that he doesn't have a clue as to how to manage from a macro perspective, this economy. I mean, he's just kind of on the sidelines, and I think he's just letting his people do whatever they want to do, and Congress is running amok. Whatever they want to do, they can do. And meanwhile, his numbers are tanking. Biden's numbers are tanking.